I can talk to you all night, of course, but I do realize there are going to be questions from the audience. So this is your opportunity to ask Dory any question that you have. Yes, please do introduce yourself. If you'd like to take the mic, you can go ahead. There's one right next to you at the end of the row. Let us know who you are, what you're doing right now, and your question for Dory. Always the first question takes courage, so maybe give her a big hand, please.
Hello, thanks for the good talk. My name is Fahima, and I'm actually from Germany, but I'm a journalist here in Singapore. I just have a question regarding the introduction that you had. Obviously, you managed to reinvent yourself, and it was added that you actually managed to live the reinvention. So I was wondering if you could maybe elaborate a little bit how you managed to live that reinvention, and then what is the greatest challenge in living that reinvention?
Thank you. Great question. In terms of living the reinvention, I mean, in a very technical sense, it's a nice way of saying I had about 7 careers in 10 years. But really, what that was about for me was, I think for a lot of people, this is a question that many people touch on, and I think is an interesting element that I'm going to be exploring in the next book that I'm writing, which is going to be coming out next year and is about thought leadership and how to position yourself as an expert in your field. But there's a kind of fundamental tension in some ways between people who know from the beginning what they want to do and they just go on that track, and then there are people who, I guess you could say that they need to iterate along the way to get to the place that they want to be. It's what the blogger and speaker Mitch Joel calls the squiggly line. And for me, as part of my reinvention, I spent most of my 20s doing a lot of different things, and part of it was that things that were perfectly plausible theories of things that I could build a career doing. I mean, I probably would have been very happy having a career as a journalist, but it so happened that at the time that I entered that career, it was taken off the table. It was no longer a viable career, so I had to come up with another one. I would have been interested, I was a presidential campaign spokesperson, so if my candidate had won, going into government and working in Washington and doing press there, that would have been something I would have been very glad to do. He lost, so that didn't work either. So, there was that level of experimentation, but I think for a lot of us, it's kind of finding the place, finding the way that you can make your difference. And for me, the kind of overarching rubric that I've landed on of having a consulting business and writing and speaking and teaching is great, because for me it allows me to kind of dwell in the realm of ideas and be able to help people and things like that. But it's the way that has proven to be sustainable with the disruptions of the economy. In terms of actually doing the reinvention, part of what motivated my book was that as I was going through the process, I was doing it a little bit blind. I was feeling my way through. And at the end of it, when I came to having this consulting and teaching career that I really valued, I looked back and I thought, I probably could have done that more systematically. And I'd like to maybe help other people be able to do that so that they can actually come up with a forward-looking plan rather than what I did, which is muddle through it and then interview a bunch of people and learn from my experience and learn from their experience and then develop the sort of systematic path from there. I mean, really what I hope Reinventing You is able to serve as for people is a kind of roadmap that they can follow that can hopefully shave some time, months or years, off of the twists and turns of the reinvention process so that it can be a little bit more deliberate for other people.
Like they say, you will not live long enough to make your own mistakes, so learn from Dory's and get ahead of the curve. Did you have a follow-up question to that? That's a good question.
Yeah, definitely. So I would posit that for all of us, I think in general reinvention needs to be constant. However, there's an asterisk on this. That doesn't mean we all need to be, switching careers all the time and things like that. But what I would suggest is there's two forms, right? There's the major form and the minor form of reinvention. Minor form of reinvention, we do need to do all the time. That's, how do we keep ourselves fresh? Are we going to different kinds of conferences? Are we taking different classes? Are we, doing programs or networking with people, introducing ourselves to new ideas? Those are forms of reinvention, and I think they are something that should become part of our regular diet of development as professionals and as human beings. In terms of the major form of reinvention, I think for now I'm done. But it's possible. At some point I might get bored with what I'm doing. Who knows? But as was the case when I was 20, I have no idea what that would look like or be. I'm pretty happy with where I am right now. But I do think it's quite possible that at some point I might go and want to do something. The one idea in the back of my head is that in maybe 15 years, I might like to be a college president. That's my kind of like random goal. So maybe I'll do that.
Right. And I think just the times that we live in, that constant reinvention is required, right? We talk about, can any of us imagine our lives without Google today, right? 15 years ago, Google didn't exist. Facebook is celebrating 10 years. Nobody had heard of Facebook 10 years ago. And I'm actually in the process of writing an article right now on how to future-proof your career. Because this is what it's about. It's about the ability to keep changing as the environment keeps changing, right? And so I'm glad you asked that follow-up question.